Pavitra, there's some more people coming, so please admit them as well. Yeah, okay, I think we can start now. Okay, so a very good evening to all of you, and a warm welcome to all of you who have joined with us for this month's GYBN Sri Lanka monthly talk. Before we move on to our lecture today, first of all, I must say we must apologize that there was a little delay due to the adverse weather conditions, but I think hopefully we can continue with our monthly talk right now. So by any chance, if any one of our participants today is new to GYBN, just let me quickly take you through what is GYBN. So GYBN, as you can see, is the Global Youth Biodiversity Network. It is a global coalition of young people and youth organizations that have joined hands to save the global biodiversity. And GYBN is the official youth representation under the negotiations of the Convention on Biological Diversity. And GYBN at the moment is spanning over 172 countries with over 640 youth organizations. And we are joining with you today as the Sri Lankan chapter of the Global Youth Biodiversity Network. And for today, we are going to take you through a very valuable and an interesting lecture on biodiversity conservation and sustainable development of local communities. And our resource person for today is Professor Thilanka Gunaratne, and she's a professor of botany at the University of Peradeniya. And she is a coordinator of 2 national level outreach projects, Save the Next Generation Conservation Forests and Regreen Hantana. And her research and teaching focuses on forest ecology and conservation sciences, along with biodiversity loss and global climatic changes. So without further ado, I would ask Professor Thilanka to continue with our lecture today. So Professor Thilanka, Madam, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much for that nice introduction. Let me share my screen.
Yeah, just give me a minute, ma'am. I would. Yeah, I think you can share the screen now.
Is it visible to you all?
Yes, madam, we can see.
Um, So, good evening to all of you. I'm glad that I'm here in spite of the weather. I was not sure that actually I could make it today. Moving to today's topic, which is biodiversity conservation and sustainable development of local communities. We will just brief through biodiversity, just the fundamentals. I won't take so much of time. But in order to follow the lecture, we all have to know what is biodiversity. Bio meaning organisms living, so variety of life on planet Earth and natural patterns it forms is known as biodiversity. And so today, present-day biodiversity is a result of 4.5 billion years of evolution and human influence as well. We all are aware of human impacts on biodiversity, and it forms the web of life and our livelihoods, our well-being, human well-being, and well-being of all other organisms, as well as providing food sources, jobs, everything depends on biodiversity. So it forms a web of life, of which humans are an integral part, and we depend directly on biodiversity for our well-being. As I'm sure you all are aware, there are 3 levels of biodiversity we talk about, starting with the broader level. Ecosystems can be terrestrial ecosystems like forests, grasslands, deserts, and so on. And then moving to species level, as you can see here, the species level diversity concerns on species like blue whales, Asian elephants, dipterocarp forests, in the red zone of Sri Lanka, and all the genes at the basic level, the genes, the genetics. So biodiversity is needed for the health and resilience of nature, as well as human well-being. And looking at biodiversity, the benefits of biodiversity that it provides to all of us. It provides clean water and provides places for ecotourism. You can't talk of ecotourism because in ecotourism, one of the main principles is nature. Nature, local community, culture, and benefits to local community. Those are the main governing principles of ecotourism. So again, nature comes into play there, as well as nutrition. Sometimes, as humans, we forget, we think we are the greatest species on planet Earth, but then we are animals that depend directly or indirectly on biodiversity for our nutrition. And also community-based natural management, natural resource management, coastal protection, wild fisheries. These are only some of the benefits biodiversity provides to us, to different sectors. And then we have other sectors like alternative livelihoods, sustainable livelihoods, enhancing biodiversity, like sustainable fishing practices, forest protection by wildlife department, forest department, coastal conservation department. These help to enhance biodiversity. So biodiversity is benefited through forest protection, and all these sustainable agricultural practices as water treatments. All these will move biodiversity to a higher level than what is there today. So we must realize biodiversity and all the other sectors in any society is interdependent on each other. looking at biodiversity hotspots, especially because Sri Lanka, as you can see here, along with Western Ghats of India, is a biodiversity hotspot. There are 35 biodiversity hotspots. So when researchers classify this biodiversity hotspot, one of the main things they consider is the high amount of biodiversity and the experience of habitat loss due to human activity that is exerted to these pristine habitats. So human impacts plus high biodiversity decides if a location is going to be a biodiversity hotspot. And the southwestern part of Sri Lanka has been classified along with Western Ghats of India as a biodiversity hotspot, meaning Western Ghats of India as well as Sri Lanka has high biodiversity. Not only that this biodiversity is threatened due to human activity. Even though now hotspots only cover about 2% of the land, 50% of world's vascular plants, 42% of land vertebrates that are endemic. These are only found in these biodiversity hotspots, and most of them span across the tropical belt, along the equator, on either side of the equator. So it's very important. We know about our biodiversity. Knowing is not enough. We have to understand, appreciate, and make corrective efforts towards biodiversity conservation. And when talking about where you will come across biodiversity, it's mainly the pristine habitats like natural ecosystems, forests, grasslands. Most of the grasslands in Sri Lanka are man-made, but there are like wet Patna grasslands at Horton Plains, some grasslands at Knuckles Conservation Forests. These are natural grasslands. So these natural ecosystems like mangroves, salt marshes, tropical rainforests, montane forests, these are the places that harbors high biodiversity, not paddy fields, not pine stands, other monocultures like teak plantations in the dry zone. No, they are not the places, but the natural forests. So it is very important, especially you all as the next generation of conservation leaders, it's very important that you understand the role of biodiversity and what is there in our country. So you need to put up your boots and go out there and investigate our natural ecosystems and find what is there and do the baseline surveys. Some has been done, but take a lot of research gaps are there in Sri Lankan forests as well as grasslands. So one thing we can do is to raise awareness, not only among the community, as well as local community, which is under the purview of this topic I'm discussing today. Later on, we will be talking about local community. And we are also a community. You all, along with me, I would say we all are here today in spite of the rain and thundering and lightning to learn about, to understand biodiversity, because we believe that we have to protect. You can't protect anything without the understanding. So that is why as a community, we all are here. So we are a community of people that love conservation of biodiversity. So our livelihoods, well-being, and economies depend on Earth's natural ecosystems. And when we talk of natural ecosystems as well as man-made ecosystems like pine stands, paddy fields, rubber plantations, we talk of different assets, natural capital assets, mainly biodiversity. So biodiversity, when you look at these, if you check this diagram, you will see natural capital assets can be broadly divided under 4 categories: provisioning, which means the products, okay, like medicines, food, genes for genetically improved crop varieties, regulating services like climate regulation, watershed regulation, and so on, soil erosion control. All these are regulating services offered by biodiversity that is encompassed in natural ecosystems. Supporting services like stocking of carbon, primary production, soil nutrient cycles, all these are supporting. And then comes cultural services. I'm sure all of you have enjoyed these cultural services. They include spiritual services like meditation in natural areas. Like when you visit natural places, you feel the calmness and you get the benefits of ecotherapy. And in other countries like Japan, I'm sure you may have heard of forest bathing, tree hugging. All these comes under cultural services. And recreation like ecotourism, again a cultural service, education, research. And then all these services are benefits that we get. And about 10 years back, people, the economists, have started to give a value to these benefits. Okay, they call it ecosystem service valuation. Now what happens here is we give a tag dollar value to all our ecosystem. So Sinharaja, after ecosystem valuation, meaning that provisioning services, regulating services, supporting and cultural services are given a value, dollar value. So it will have a dollar value. Cotton plains will have a dollar value. And why it is important to give a dollar value is then we can prioritize conservation activities. There are, as in any case, there are negatives and positives in giving value to ecosystem services. As you can guess by now, the intrinsic value of natural ecosystem and cultural services is difficult to capture. We can't really give a value to cotton plains. It's invaluable to us, right? But economists, they come with valuation systems, and Sinharaja, it's a World Heritage Site. We can't give a proper value. We can give some value, but these natural capital assets are invaluable because Sri Lanka, the value, the genetic value we have, because we are rich in endemic species, they can't be given a value because they are only found in Sri Lanka for one aspect. But let's see how all these world trends are moving forward in the future and also at present later on. And so the total ecosystem value in the world, they have been calculated as $150 trillion, coming under different categories: provisioning, regulating, cultural, and supporting. And so when you look at this slide, you will reflect like provisioning services like food, timber, medicine. These are tangible things. You can give a value for food, medicine. But for regulating values like climate regulation, water storage and filtration, air purification, for the clean air we get, recycling of nutrients, control of diseases due to natural pest control, the pest control, the predators residing in natural ecosystems. How can we give a value? So 60% of it comes from regulatory services, cultural services, as well as supporting services. Okay, spiritual, heritage, recreation, and all these values are taken into consideration when you give the economic value. And on top of biodiversity, we all know, we all are aware that there are so many adverse drivers acting on biodiversity. Number one is the climate change. With climate change, it is predicted that 4% of mammals will lose half of their habitats if the temperature increase just by 1.5 degrees Celsius. If it increased by 2.2 degrees Celsius, 8% of mammals will be losing their habitat. And if it is 3 degrees Celsius, 41% of mammals will lose their habitats, half of their habitats. So habitats are very important because without habitats, where would these animals live? Okay, so these days we complain so much about maca silica. The monkeys we call commonly in home gardens. They come in and devastate our home gardens, but are we as humans, have we taken enough measures, corrective actions to conserve maca silica, endemic species to Sri Lanka, and elephants? What about their habitats? Don't they have a right to live in Sri Lanka and also on planet Earth? These are the questions as the next generation of leaders you should ask. And when you look at climate change and also biodiversity loss, you will see there are many loops, interconnected loops. We call them feedback loops between land degradation, climate change, and biodiversity loss. You see decreased carbon capture and storage when land is deforested, and then it increases climate change because now carbon stocks are reduced because carbon capture and storage is lost when you log, and will lead to alteration in habitats of species. Then what happens is it ultimately leads to biodiversity loss, loss of flora and fauna. And so land degradation, there's a link between poor land and water management as well, increased greenhouse emissions leading to climate change, as well as loss of nutrients and soil moisture leading to, again, biodiversity loss. So tackling biodiversity conservation, even with local communities and all the communities together, urban communities, conservation communities, all together is going to be a challenging task, but we need to embark on it as soon as possible. First, knowledge, skills, and then we should be inspired to take up the challenge. So nature and climate, we all know, are intrinsically connected. So urgent actions at international level should be taken, and there should be national budgets, sector strategies, as well as local policies aligning with nature. And nature must come as a core of development. And when you take nature as the core, you have to appreciate it and recognize nature as the core of development and respect nature, and then invest in opportunities and to build resilient cities, resilient communities. So we ultimately need to finance work that is relation to nature. So there should be a paradigm shift from harmful practices that we are practicing towards sustainable practices. And so I hope all of you are clear about Convention on Biodiversity as well. Here we talk of, it covers conservation at all levels, ecosystem, species, and genetic resources. And it is not only biodiversity, but it is also about people and our need for food security, medicine, fresh air, water, and clean and healthy environment to live. So it's very important that we conserve biodiversity while sustainably utilizing biodiversity. Not only conserve by establishing protected area, but also wisely using or sustainably using biodiversity from these PAs. And so conservation of biodiversity is there in CBD, sustainable use of its components, as well as fair and equitable sharing. This is very important because these days even Sri Lanka is thinking of investing, attracting different sectors, private as well as I think international parties on fair and equitable sharing on benefits rising from utilization of genetic resources. So we have to know how all these work. Is it transparent with good governance? Those are the main things we need to keep an eye on. And then also remember there are two protocols, Thilanka protocol on LMOs, we call living modified organisms, as well as Nagoya protocol, which aims to share benefits arising from utilization of genetic resources in a fair and equitable manner. So by approximate access to genetic resources and by approximate transfer of relevant technologies to developing countries. So Nagoya protocol will be important, is very important and is vital, and using CBD as well as Nagoya protocol in African countries, they have developed many projects that are funded from developed countries, sharing genetic resources, benefits from genetic resources. And also remember there's this 30-30 global target, which means a global target to protect 30% of planet for nature by 2030. This is included at coming Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework. And it was also agreed at the CBD at COP15. And this year's message is from agreement to action to build back biodiversity. So it's important. That is the biodiversity, International Biodiversity Day message. Enough of protocols, enough of global policies, but then are we really doing anything? We need to act on conserving biodiversity rather than talking, rather than acting at policy level, giving recommendations. Are we acting enough, especially the developing countries, which are located around the tropical belt? So biodiversity loss, you can see from this graph, it has increased between 1970s to 2016. So according to Stanford researchers, we are experiencing the 6th mass extinction. Large number of animal species are being extinct due to habitat destruction. So biodiversity loss is going to affect long-term maintenance of ecosystem functions and ecosystem services we discussed earlier, provisioning, regulating, supporting and cultural services, as well as then if ecosystem services and ecosystem functions are affected, then ultimately human well-being will be affected due to biodiversity loss. So the question we ask always, should be our global scale policy initiatives successful in reducing global biodiversity loss? Are they just documents on paper, or what are we doing on ground? What are the actions we take? So most initiatives, when you check it out, you see have wasted time, resources, have overlooked common goals. They don't have collective goals. Most of these goals start from top to bottom, not bottom to top. Bottom to top should be starting with local communities, going towards global initiatives. But as it happens, mostly it is global community towards local communities. So there's a big challenge how to bridge this gap, failing to recognize the need of diverse solutions, because it is with the local communities that we have the knowledge and expertise of biodiversity. They know better than us. Have we realized that? And most of these initiatives ignore the central question of who should be involved in the conservation process, especially the local communities in Sri Lanka. Most projects, they don't account local communities. So if any of you want to start any conservation project, start with, not the funder, start with the global community and build up on their expertise. Be transparent, show them what are the benefits they get. And looking at this diagram, I hope it's visible. You see the governance of conservation is a must. Without that, you can't move forward with local communities, because if you are not a genuine person, they will realize it. Day two, you will go there, but then they talk about it, and it's not good for you, for your organization, where you work, wherever you work. So governance, good governance should be there, and there will be biodiversity outcomes and livelihood outcomes. So it will be connected, and there will be, from livelihood outcomes, there will be connections or interactions for biodiversity and vice versa. And when you talk of good governance, especially in Sri Lankan scenario, power and politics have a bigger role to play. Okay, and then there are indigenous perspective, cultural aspects, socio-cultural aspects coming into governance and conservation. That is why we say local communities should be partners in conservation, start from the bottom. And then you can maybe start from top and bottom at the same time, but don't ignore the local communities. And all depends on meanings of conservation. Having a collective goal that is decided by you all and also decided by the local community. And motivations for conservation, definitely there should be some motivations. It can be simply the enhancement of ecosystem services, or can be salaries for local community for being involved in creating a nursery or raising a nursery. So there are interactions between these two as well. It's important to understand what are the factors that govern conservation, good governance in conservation. And so here you see effective biodiversity conservation requires dynamic, pluralistic, and partnership-based approach. Okay, here in this diagram, you can see the old practices, half approach. Most of the people in biodiversity conservation, especially, they talk of species and on the ecosystem integrity. And then emphasis is on intrinsic value on biodiversity, gene level, and then more emphasis in remote locations and wilderness areas, not in urban areas and semi-urban areas, and emphasis on strict protected areas. So when you come to biocultural approach, again, remember, this is only one approach. Biocultural approach, it is driven by multiple objectives of relevant stakeholders, including Local communities, now you can see it's not only the plants and animals, communities involved, and pluralistic worldwide views are taken in, developing views are taken in, including relational views, intrinsic, instrumental, how you work, like a Rome approach for restoring ecological restoration of natural ecosystem, new developing tool, and tailor inventions to social ecological context as well. This is a scenario we encounter in leopard-human conflicts, animal conflicts with humans, like elephant-human conflicts. And so there are diverse set of nested institutions with adaptive governance and management. And you'll also see a lot of stakeholders are involved. So all in all, biocultural approaches are needed. You can come up with your own model, own approach as well. And some of the principles of biocultural approaches to conservation includes acknowledgement of multiple stakeholders and objectives. So as an ecologist representing academia, I can't go in and say it's only plants that is important to conserve. No, no way. We have to take into consideration of the views of zoologists. Not only that, sociologists, local communities, private sector, local government sectors, all should come together, multi-stakeholders with different objectives, smart objectives. Use intergenerational planning, very important, intergenerational planning, tapping into knowledge of elders, okay, as well as youngsters, intergenerational, okay, different generations for planning and institutions for long-term adaptive management and governance. Recognize the cultural dynamics that shape conservation, because some people, they have, local communities have their own perspectives on conservation. Later on, I'll tell you a small story about about how they didn't like conservation at Knuckles when we initiated the one conservation project. Tailor interventions to social ecological context, very important. You have, again, local communities there. Devise novel, diverse, and nested institutional frameworks. You can use your unique framework. And also incorporate, sorry about the spelling, it should be incorporate distinct rights and responsibilities to all parties. It is not that you are only doing your own thing. You are the project manager and you tell everybody what to do. No, no. You have to get everybody in. So local community, they have a responsibility. Forest department, they have another responsibility. Students, university students, other students, volunteers, they have a different responsibility. At the initiation of projects, we have to decide the responsibilities of all stakeholders. Respect, very important, and incorporate different worldviews, because conservation is rapidly developing as we speak now. We have to be updated with the worldview and knowledge systems. Indigenous and local communities, communities that have a long association with lands and waters in a particular area. They have traditionally lived and used these lands. These are defined as local and indigenous communities by Convention on Biological Diversity. So they have a long association with these lands and natural ecosystems, especially in remote areas like Knuckles, Adams Peak, Singharaja, Pitadeniya, Kanneliya, and so on. They have they have the knowledge, innovations, and practices, their own practices regarding the sustainable management and development of these territories, the protection areas. protected areas, PAs, and very useful traditional knowledge as well as environmental knowledge. So you see people living around Knuckles buffer zone. Yeah, they have their products from their home gardens as well as trickle and jaggery in their stores. Local practices are there that we have to empower these people. Easily we can find livelihoods, enhance their livelihoods for ecotourism. Are we doing it? Local communities and indigenous people can be effective stewards to conserve natural ecosystems and protect forests, their biodiversity and the carbon stocks, because if you really think about it, if you really deeply think about it, we will be stationed in cities, urban areas or semi-urban areas, whereas these are the people, local communities, they are the people who look after these forests even to date. They are the people who go to the media and talk about road constructions, illegal road construction in a man and biosphere reserve, or hotel construction, showing their displeasure. So we need to empower these people. One way would be through education. Small story to share. So this photograph is taken at Knuckles, one of my main study sites. I work in the wet zone of Sri Lanka. And these people in one of the adjacent villages, they had very innocent requests. One is, please help us to learn English. Can you imagine, like these people, they are requesting you all when you go and visit them to improve their English, so spoken English, so that they can assist ecotourists that are visiting these conservation forests, Knuckles. One, I think this elderly person mentioned, one ecotourist came and through signals, he said he wanted to go using hand gestures. He said he wanted to visit a forest and a waterfall. So using hand gestures, he assisted this ecotourist, and in turn, he took him safely and brought him back. But then, and another request coming from these ladies, locals, is please train us on a livelihood. Anything, because we are stuck at our homes at Knuckles. Please help us, train us on some livelihood initiatives that we can do at home and develop a market to sell our products. So young entrepreneurs in the team, you can think about new initiatives. So I've been talking to several people, and we should help these people because these are the stewards of conservation on the field, on site. Although we talk, we learn, and we try to empower the next generation, they do it on ground. We have to help them. When they are empowered with knowledge and skill and also livelihoods, they will keep on seeing the benefits of conserving biodiversity. They can be trained as naturalists, eco-tour guides, and as you can see in this bottom photograph, to make traditional foods. In an attractive manner, we can help them to present them, and so on. There are so many things we can do, small steps we have to take. Not huge. Don't think about like, we'll be doing this, and that. You can think like that, that's okay. But then what I found in Sri Lanka, taking small steps is very important. Rather than, then gradually you can increase your impact on helping local community livelihood enhancement. And indigenous people, why? Because they are the best custodians of biodiversity. They can protect, sustain livelihoods. They get a share of, but then we need to give shared benefits. We have to share benefits with them. And I know a lot of companies that use these resources, they do not give profits to their these local communities. Knowledge, their resources, and also get share of benefits generated from access to and use of their resources and their knowledge. Because some of these ecotourists visit these rural places to experience culture, local cultures, but then the benefits, the profits earned by these tourism enterprises operating in these rural areas, they are not directly given to the local communities. At least partly they should be given to local community. That is, if they are practicing ecotourism. But what they do, they greenwash, they say it's ecotourism, they take ecotourists along pathways, show them places, expose them to local cultures, to these local communities, but do not give back to local communities. But then one of the main key principles of ecotourism is you have to give back to the local community, livelihood development. It's not being done, and nobody is monitoring or evaluating this. So we need a lot of things to be done in order to enhance livelihoods of local communities. So framework projects should be targeting benefit sharing as well as active involvement of communities in decision-making projects process. Sri Lanka, earlier also I told you, along with Western Ghats, biodiversity hotspot, and there's high economic potential of biodiversity-based products, largely untapped. But when you are tapping, we have to be very careful, because sustainable utilization means wise use, only using partly, leaving out majority for the future generation, not tapping everything. Okay, so policy drive should align with Convention on Biodiversity as well as Nagoya Protocol to share benefits of genetic diversity within the country with other countries. Can use technologies in other countries, but it should be in a transparent manner where benefits are given back to the local communities as well. So role of local community in sustainable development should give better quality of life for all residents, maintaining nature's ability to function over time, and minimize waste, preventing pollution, promoting efficiency, as well as developing local resources. But then if it is a sustainable community, they should use resources to meet current needs while ensuring the adequate resources. You have to protect adequate resources for future generations. That is the main important thing we all have to think about. The next generations to inhabit Sri Lanka as well as the world. Are we exhausting all natural resources? Because most of them are non-renewable. So when you talk of sustainable communities, there are three things you have to think of: environment, social aspects, as well as economics. So it resembles a living system in which human, natural, and economic elements, all three elements are interdependent and also draw on strength from each other. Okay, not destroying. Now what is happening is we are destroying the environment in order to derive all the economic benefits. So it is not a fixed system. Sustainable communities, it's not fixed. It's continually adjusting or evolving to meet social and economic needs while preserving the environment. So decision-making in sustainable community stems from integrity, social values, as well as shared responsibility in communities. You can't just talk of sustainable development without respecting environment. We have to respect the environment. And so one of the main things we have to learn is on tapping to local knowledge for research, education, tourism industry and other industries. Entrepreneurships, we can tap into local knowledge, but we have to acknowledge and also share benefits equally. When a traditional knowledge or local knowledge, it should be acknowledged. And this will increase self-esteem of local communities and also help them to build trust. So you see first photograph of local community helping research on mosquitoes in a forest in Sri Lanka, lowland rainforest, Halgula forest, closer to Kandy. And second one, this person, a local guide, helping university students, disseminating knowledge about reforesting at Opatha site, which is maintained by IUCN. So it's very important that we acknowledge and also connect. Intergenerational connections are very important. Elders, here also elders, as you can see here, giving knowledge and sharing their experiences with the next generation of people. And then collective goal, we all, along with the local community, should have a collective goals. So this is one project I will brief to you. We were involved in at Knuckles. So this project, the collective goal or the main goal is to bridge the forest using data. Okay, so when we started the project, we did not have any data. You can see these small forest fragments. So we wanted to connect them. So when we visited Knuckles, one of the main issues we had is people did not. This is not the exact photo. We went there in a van, university van, and they had included, or they have put a bridge of stones along the road saying you are not welcome. Okay, to know that some researchers from the universities had visited Knuckles and they have collected animals and killed them illegally. So they thought we were that group, and so at that day, not this one, but when I saw this photo, I thought I'll use it to remind you also. You have to work closely with local communities. If they don't trust you, you can't do anything. Okay, so trust comes first before anything. And then when they started coming and working with us on this reforestation project, they asked, what are your goals? They thought we are going to give them land from the reserve. We said, then we are not going to give you land, but we are going to connect the forest. And they understood because they saw us working there. And they saw us as a genuine team of people working for the betterment of their livelihoods, because in the villages, lower down valleys, they live, and we live in the university in Kandy, but then it is their livelihoods and their slopes at Knuckles that we are going to stabilize using reforestation methods. So these are the forest plots which were established in 2003. To connect all these, we had island-like patches, stepping stones, we call them. And so with the community participation, after winning their trust, some of us stayed in the village. As you can see here, these are the paddy fields from there, we used to walk to the mountain and to work alongside, conduct our research alongside the villagers who are helping us. So for fencing and for a lot of other things, they helped us. So all these experiments we have done to collect data. So great things have small beginnings. Remember that as the next generation of conservation leaders. I hope you will remember this. You have to learn to work with local communities because they are the people who are protecting on ground. So you see how people are helping us in our project. And we had a lot of activities to build a dialogue, to engage local communities with us. And then these initiatives build upon trust, transparency, and governance. Later on developed into another project, another step forward. We call it Save the Next Generation project, which will be happening this year as well. Hopefully in November or December, next month or December. And it's again an activity after conducting research, collecting data, coming up with the model of reforestation, connection of these linked forests, university, local communities, forest, private sector, Noritake for Civil Private Limited for funding the project. You see how local community people from Mahalakotu village, as well as university students working together to reforest one of the World Heritage Sites, slopes of World Heritage Site at Knuckles Conservation Forests. So access and benefit sharing is a must. So from our projects, salaries were paid for labor and raising nurseries and other activities, as well as, so you have to think of economy, market regulation, government, as well as human value, cultural value when you are working with local communities. Not only that, I hope all of you are aware of Sustainable Development Goals. So 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development Goals adopted by United Nations member states in 2015 is on 17 global goals, okay? And we have to know what they are because you will see some of them are directly linked with local communities. Okay, looking at this chart, you see at lower level is the biosphere. Okay, so goals related to biosphere like goal number 15, life on land, life below water, goal number 14, clean water and sanitization, as well as climate action, all are the base. These are benefits or biodiversity, in other terms, encompasses biosphere. Then we have, on top of that, all these, if all these values are conserved, life on land, life below water, clean water, water cycle, climate action, if all of these are in place, we will have societies with no poverty, Sustainable Development Goal number 1, sustainable cities and communities, peace, justice, and strong institutions, affordable clean energy, good health and well-being, quality education, gender equality, and zero hunger. All these will come at the second level, and finally the economy. So for the world to be sustainable, at the base is the biodiversity. Then is the local community. So they have links, and concerning all these goals, we should have partnerships with private sector, government sector, as well as international bodies, organizations. There are so many sustainable development goals that we can initiate through collaborative approaches to diversify livelihoods for locals, end extreme poverty, improve peace and justice, empower women, especially in rural villages, and build resilient societies or communities. So private sector partnerships, local and international governments, their help also can be acknowledged. We can, through transparency and governance, we can tap into private sector as well as international bodies or institutions. So close integration of investments in environmental and natural resource management with economic growth and social development is needed to achieve strategic objectives that are set in sustainable development goals. So whenever you come up with a project, any project, social project, biodiversity conservation project, you need to see what are the sustainable development goals you are aligning to. It will give you a more powerful project to address the needs of local communities. And some of the main areas that we can enhance livelihood comes from tourism. Earlier also I mentioned what is practiced mostly as ecotourism is greenwashing in Sri Lanka. Livelihood, locals are not given benefits as they should give by exposing ecotourists to local cultures as well as local landscapes. Is it okay if I take another 5 minutes time? I think I have 2 more slides.
Yeah, yes, madam, it's okay.
Okay, no? Okay. So if you check this loop, you will see tourism development, we will say ecotourism, livelihood improvement and biodiversity conservation are interlinked. Because in ecotourism, local livelihoods is one pillar. Biodiversity conservation is another pillar. And benefits should go, what you earn from ecotourism should go partly to biodiversity conservation as well as livelihood improvement of local communities. And sadly, it's not happening. And we must try to investigate ways and means to build up these links in order to help local communities that are protecting our PAs. So biodiversity as tourist attractions can be used to develop ecotourism, and revenue generators should be given partly, not all profits, surely, but partly should be given to biodiversity conservation. And then again, when you consider ecotourism development, there should be jobs, market for local products like souvenirs, food products, even homestays. They should be given opportunities for locals, not like private companies going to natural areas, building their own eco lodges. Even that is okay, but you have to hire local people. You have to train them for these eco lodges and give some benefits as salaries to local communities. And then biodiversity will give ecosystem services like watershed protection, cultural services like peace for meditation, spiritual value. Ecotourists are not visiting Sri Lanka to visit concrete cities like Colombo. They are coming here to visit pristine areas, to see elephant herds at Thilanka, or to go hiking on mountain tops like Knuckles, Hantana. So we have to get local communities involved in conservation, and also benefit sharing is a must for livelihood empowerment or enhancement. Many ways for food, sustainable food systems, ecosystems, reduce rates of natural ecosystem loss and degradation. So all these projects are there. When they are coming, we have to acknowledge local communities, energy, ensure that expansion of renewable energy, not only urban cities should go towards solar energy and so on. We have to think about our local communities. What are the opportunities that we can help them with for using renewable energies in their homes, in their homestays that are dedicated for ecotourism? Rights and livelihoods, recognize and respect and also safeguard rights of and livelihoods of locals. Very less done in Sri Lanka. We have to act fast. We can earn a lot actually if we really have the mechanism in place. If right people get connected, and then mitigation action, especially to climate change. Even now we are experiencing intense rainfall during short period of time. This has been predicted 10, 15 years back. Effects of climate change. What are we doing? All of us have to reflect. So all in all, so we have talked most of these things. At bottom level, we will start at bottom level, recognition of local institutions, rights, local decision control, trust building, resolving conflicts, accountability, local engagement, empowering of local communities through education, shared values, institutions, respected authority, underpin collective action to conserve, local stewardship, self-regulation will lead to well-being of local communities, equitable conservation governance as well as effective conservation. So all this is underpinned by, as you all know, our political economy as well as legal policy frameworks supportive of local values and institutions. So it's very important. We acknowledge 2030, we are planning the world leaders are planning for zero net loss of nature, biodiversity by 2030. Where are we as Sri Lankans? Are we taking enough steps? Are we still buying polythene bags from shops? Or are we carrying a cloth bag for shopping? Are we still burning in our home gardens, not composting? Are we just throwing out garbage out of our windows? You can see when the waterways are clearing during the dry season, how much non-degradables are there? What are the actions we are taking? So local actions and local solutions should be there, not coming from international bodies, can evolve with them, sure. And so we need policy change towards sustainable world. So as the next generation, I sincerely hope that you will take, you are taking daily measures at your home, at your workplace, at your study place, to be a sustainable person, switching off lights, simple act of sustainability when you are leaving the lecture hall, disposing your garbage at the right bin, another sustainable step, thinking about your grandchildren, thinking about biodiversity, learning about biodiversity is not enough. Volunteer for projects. With that, I think I will stop. And I hope you learned something from my lecture. Over to you.
Thank you very much, madam, for your valuable lecture. Actually, it is raining quite heavily in my place as well. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Okay. So thank you again for your invaluable lecture and sharing your wisdom with us. Before we wrap up things, we have a few more minutes. So if any of our participants have some questions, you can ask now. You can unmute yourself and talk.
You must be having something to ask. Yes, did you understand or am I too fast?
No, actually, your pace was perfectly fine for me, I think. Madam, actually, I was thinking something now. When we talk about biodiversity loss and saving biodiversity, we see like most of the time it's the uh, biologists or naturalists always speaking about this stuff, at least most of them. But in reality, we know that conservation is not only biologist um, concern. It must be like everybody's concern because at the end of the day, biologists alone cannot halt biodiversity loss. So, in your opinion, like in a global scale and a local scale, how do you see the commitment of the other areas of work towards saving biodiversity apart from the biological community?
Yeah. Yes, thank you very much for that interesting question. And it's like as biologists, especially as ecologists, I feel, I hope you will also realize our home is planet Earth, not Sri Lanka. Okay, some of you will end up in other countries. If you think of climate change, and we have high risk because not because we are releasing a lot of carbon dioxide. As a country, if you get a chance to fly over Sri Lanka, you will see Sri Lanka as green. If it is not natural areas, reserves, it is home gardens or plantations stocking carbon, not releasing carbon. Because of other countries like USA, China, they are the people. If you check the web, you will see who are the countries who are producing large amount of and emitting large amounts of carbon dioxide. But when you think of the effects, Sri Lanka is at the 6th place of climate risk as we are experiencing now. So I think world leaders have to think really seriously. Somebody is speaking. Yes, I hope, am I audible? Yes?
Yes, madam, you're
Yes?
audible. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay. So we need to get everything connected, and I think biologists have a bigger role to play because we study about ecosystems and we understand the biology. So we have a bigger role to play. Not say, but it is not only us, all the others, not only biologists, everyone, because we all are humans belonging to one species, Homo sapiens sapiens. So we, because of us, biodiversity is at risk. We have to realize that and then take small actions. It's okay, even as students, sometimes you will realize, no, we can't do much now at policy level, it should come. No, you can take, when you say no to plastic and polythene, that means you are saying no to biodiversity destruction. You don't have to be a biologist to say that. And if you are really thinking about your grandchildren and future of planet, I'm sure you, if you visualize our planet, if we don't stop this excessive use of plastic and polythene, and if we don't conserve biodiversity in protected areas and other places, in 2040, where would our planet be? When you go to the ocean, to the beach, to enjoy the serenity, doesn't have to be a biologist. You will see only plastic and polythene and dead animals because of microplastics. And we have to act now. If we are not acting now, I don't know, all of you, there are like, without me, 25 participants. If all of us take it seriously that we are going to do something, we can do it. I'm sure, because most of the initiatives I've started, they started because I'm keen, because I understand I won't be here for long. Like I'm not eternal now, so we have to spread the word and let the other people carry the battle and disseminate intergenerational knowledge. What I've experienced, I have to share it with you all and get everyone connected. Wherever you go, whatever you do, try to aware the society, the next person, by if each one of us try to aware and show a practice, like in the supermarket, small practice you can do, buying maybe in one bag, you can take your cloth bag and put everything in one bag and take a sheet of paper or a bill and put all the price tags on it, rather than putting all these products into into single-use plastics and tissue bags. So small things, when you do this, young people doing it, you can change the world. I strongly believe next generation, young people will change the world, because I work with young people, and most of them, they have initiated great activities like Save the Next Generation program proposed by 2 university students. They came to me and said, those people are doing it wrong. Please talk to these, connect with them and help them to do a proper job. Other people, when they see pollution and things, they come again and tell, do something, and we write letters and try to reduce bad effects on biodiversity. So each one of us, each one of you, when young people start showing the elders that this is the way it should be, I'm sure people will change. So it should, we as one species, Homo sapiens sapiens, we have a bigger role to play, because we are the people who are disrupting biodiversity and all the Earth's health systems, ecosystem services as well. So we have to step it up. There will be people who are not thinking that is needed. It will happen. World will get destroyed, but while we are here, we need to conserve and we need to stop waste generation. So many things you can do, even event organizing, reduce bringing in lunch sheets, lunch packets, try to serve 1 or 2 curries with buffet setup to reduce the charges, funding going towards food. Reduce food waste. All these things are leading towards sustainable societies. So take up the challenge. I'm sure you would, and do something each day, small steps, switching off lights, small things, and try to think of projects. And if you need any help, I'm here to help you all. I have different expertise working with me. If I'm not an expert in the area you want, I can maybe link them with you all to help you all. And we are always there to help you. Remember that we are, as elders, will help you. And we have to think of local communities and biodiversity. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, thank you very much, madam. Are there any questions from participants? You can have one more question, I think. And if not, I think we can wrap up. Yeah, so yes, I think we'll conclude our online talk for today. So I would take this opportunity again to thank you, Professor Thilanka Gunaratne, for joining with us today, despite all the difficulties with the bad weather as well. Thank you again, madam, for your, I must say, very encouraging and valuable lecture. And thank you very much for all the participants who joined with us today as well. And please keep in touch with GYBN Sri Lanka. We'll be uploading this video on our YouTube channel as well. And you can get in touch with us through our social media on Facebook as well. And we'll meet you with another valuable and interesting online talk in the next month as well. So until then, take care. See you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.